So for our last session, I'd like to invite to the stage Leandro Margulis, Vice President and General Manager of Developer Relations at TomTom. He'll share his insights on why location matters, because context matters. He is Vice President of Developer Relations, as I mentioned. TomTom, for all of you that may not be aware who they were the original GPS mapping company. So after years in management consulting at Deloitte, Leandro has worked in different startups and in different stages of growth for the last decade. He holds an industrial and system engineering degree and an MBA from Yale. Now, a fun fact about Leandro. First, I had the pleasure of being his mentor this year. He has multiple patents, and he actually holds a patent on durable RFID tags. So check that out on Google. Leandro, come out to the stage. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Awesome. So, yeah, before I even start with my presentation, I just want to tell you a quick little story. I came to my first HITEC conference over a decade ago. I had just started my job as an analyst at Deloitte, and it's amazing that now I'm able to be here over a decade later, part of the EEP program, and presenting on this stage. So thank you, HITEC. But today I'm going to talk about location. I'm going to talk about location matters and why location matters. So the reality is, if we look at the world that we are in today with all these devices, online and offline are converging, and location is key. Everything happens somewhere. If you're looking at IoT, all these things in Internet of Things are somewhere. If they're fixed in a place, you want to ping them and make sure that they are where they should be, and if not, do something about it. If they are moving, you want to know where they are at every step of the way. So, as I was saying, location matters because context matters. So if I have a lat long from a GPS device, some of you may know what that means. But we need a lot more context usually to understand what that means. Is that a place? Is that an address? What specific address that is? And then if you have all these points over time, you can actually understand the route, a behavior, a trend. So all that information gives you context. And some of you may know this, but for me it was mind-boggling when I first learned that 80% of the apps that we have on our phone use location in one way or the other. For me, that was eye-opening. So location matters. I'm going to talk a little bit about the use cases where it matters the most. If you're looking at everything that has to do with fleet and logistics, all these trucks, they're moving merchandise all around the US, all around the world. You want to make sure that they are where they should be at every step of the way. And also understanding behavior, you can actually route them the right way to go faster, to lower emissions and get them through a more efficient route, even if it's not the fastest. You also need to know different dimensions of the route, understanding the curvature, the maximum weight, the height that certain routes can actually handle, so that you can route them appropriately. If you are at a port, you're moving all these containers. You're using forklifts, for example. You want to make sure for a safety reason that the forklifts are working only within a certain area and then that they don't work anywhere else. That's more of a geofence. That's another use for location technology. And we all want to get our packages either from UPS, DHL, or FedEx, or Amazon, by 10 a.m., as they promise. Well, location technologies can help us with that as well. We may not think of our cars as a thing in IoT, but they're also connected. And if anything happens with our car, using services like OnStar or an app on your phone, when you click on it, you're giving the other company, the road assistant, your context, your location as context for them to actually reply to you and come assist you. In cases of emergency, when there's an incident, you want to make sure that when you make that 911 call, that context of location, you get it so you can answer to it right away. And then I want to tell you another story. That third image here is a white handkerchief. I'm one of the 17 Argentinians here, and this is more about location matters because context matters in Argentina. One of the things that people know there is if you're in a car hanging out a white handkerchief out of the window, it means that somebody's giving birth. So you're going And it's amazing, we may be crazy drivers sometimes, but people do make space similar to what you do with an ambulance to let people go through if you're going with a car and you're going from somewhere that you're going to a hospital. So that context, that additional information gave you a lot of context, and the location matters. So you may remember TomTom. Joao did a great cameo there, like talking a little bit about GPS. Every time I say I work for TomTom, I get that company. Well, we have evolved from being a consumer electronics, a hardware consumer electronic company, to being the independent location technology expert. You may not know it, but you may be using TomTom today through all the different 1 billion users that are using us in every kind of device, not only the hardware GPS devices, but mobile SDKs, APIs, and so on and so forth. So based on that, we actually get probes, which I'll tell you what those are in a little bit. So we map the world. We are one of the few companies that actually map the world. And you could think of maps as an onion with different layers of data, right? And you have like the basic one, which is the map itself, right, to visualize the map. Then you may have a layer that actually tells you the street names. Then you have a layer of the speed profile, so you understand the maximum speed. Then you have all the metadata about the maximum weight, then the curvature, then the height, and so on and so forth. And you can build on top of that to the top one that is an HD map that is used in autonomous driving. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So what are these probes? As you probably saw before, we have about 1 billion users using us every day. And from all these devices, we get something that is called a probe. A probe is actually metadata. It's completely anonymized in chunks that actually let you map a city. We can map a city in minutes, understanding the behavior of all the different devices that are using us, right? And with this information, we can actually tell real-time traffic information. We can actually get the right ETAs. If you really need to go from point A to point B, you can get the proper ETA. You can use it for many different applications. And we can get it with the definition up to lane by lane, and that's the context that is used for autonomous driving. So I'm just going to let this play a little bit. I could nerd out on this for a while, but it's just really cool to see all the different layers in action. And this is Amsterdam, by the way, the company's headquarters there, even though I'm based here. Just wanted to give you a little taste of this. And as I was talking earlier, right, if you see the hourly flow at the bottom, if you're planning your fleet deployment, you can actually see with this kind of information what happens if you were to leave 30 minutes earlier, how much fuel you would save, how much time you would save, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, there's a concept in Silicon Valley, and I want to know if you guys are familiar with dog fooding. Has anybody heard about dog fooding before? OK, good. Awesome. Thank you. So eating your own dog food. So what that means is using your own technology. Sorry, what? I like that better. Just saying, drink your own champagne. You know what? I'll change it to Malbec. Cool. So as I was telling you, that the map gives you the context. So this is actually what we launched is a Project Trillion. We're using our own HD maps in our own autonomous driving as a showcase of what the technology can do. So if you think about all these different technologies in autonomous driving, you have a lot of things in LiDAR, cameras, and so on. All that gives you the real-time information around you. But you need to put all that in context, and that's where the map matters. So as I was saying before, location matters because context matters. So I invite you to come and build different with us at TomTom. Thank you.